Justice for all.
Thank you. So before we begin, I just want to mention that the town lost one of its residents recently, Margaret, better known as Peg Brown. Some of you may not know her, but the Brown family is very big in Burlington, and they are all committed to public service. They are in the fire department, police department, and as well as out of town as well. So I just wanted to send my condolences to the Brown family for their loss. And she was a great woman, and it's a great family. So members from the board, anybody wanted to say a comment or two? Yes, Mr. Morandi.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We all know the Brown family's been around a really long time, and the parents have done a wonderful job raising their children. It's just a shame that at some point in life we all go the same way. My condolences go out to the Browns family. It's been our pleasure, or my pleasure, I should say, to promote a lot of them on different levels of police and fire department. So my condolences do go out to the Brown family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Members of the board, anything else before we begin the actual meeting? Yes, Mr. Langen.
Yeah, I just want to echo what you guys have all said already. I mean, I had the great pleasure of working with three of the brothers, and I know the rest of the family quite well. Even the grandchildren too, all doing very well in athletics and school and everything. Just they all came from good stock, and my condolences as well to the entire family.
Thank you, Mr. Runyon. Mr. Hogan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't get an opportunity to know Margaret, but obviously my relationship with the family through my work with the town, I've gotten to know them a little bit. One thing I didn't realize, Jim, and I'm sure you know this, I didn't realize the connection to East Boston and Chelsea was so strong with the family, which is my family and my mother, Margaret, also. So that it just brought me a little bit closer to them.
Yeah, she literally grew up in the same street as my family from Maverick Street.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Priest, I'll go to you, and then after you have any comments, if you do have comments, we'll have you read the governor's notice.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I mean, obviously, my condolences go to the entire family, but without belaboring it, it's obviously a loss and one that we all very much send our love and support. On to the governor's notice. So, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this public hearing of the Town of Burlington Board of Selectmen is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can listen and/or view this meeting while in progress as broadcast on BCAT Government Cable Access Television, BCAT Government Coverage Facebook Live page, or by using the link provided in the agenda meeting for our WebEx Cisco online meeting, or via phone at 408-418-9388. Meeting number 173-450-1488. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by commenting on the BCAT Government Coverage Facebook Live page, the chat function on the WebEx virtual meeting, or via telephone at 781-270-1635.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Mr. Sagarino, item 119, light up the comment for Pride Month. Anything, or should I just jump to Miss Christine if she's here?
I would just jump right in, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Christine, Kelly Kim, are you here in the meeting? You, okay. Mr. Priest, would you mind jumping in on this article where Christine's not here, or just mention what the article's about and what we plan on doing?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. So essentially over the past month or so, probably longer than that now, we received 4 or 5 emails from residents requesting raising of the LGBTQ flag for the month of June in recognition of it being Pride Month. Obviously, we've had many conversations around the flags, the flag poles, the display of flags that are, beyond municipal state use, all those kinds of things. And that's kind of why the conversation at our last meeting around the community flagpole and flag policy was being discussed. And so there was some, conversation that took place between the residents and Paul, myself, and Chairman Tigas around, how we could help without, pushing a policy through without giving it its due time and having the board have a chance to look at it. And so the suggestion was made that, we light up the common, like we do for autism, like we do for mental health, like we do for everything else. We have the lights there. It's an option. And so I believe, Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, Christine Kelly Kim had officially made the request that we light the common for the month of June. And that, as a board, we obviously are looking at, the possibility of a community flagpole and a flag policy. But obviously with that not being resolved, and the question of funding for the installation of a new flagpole being in question, given the climate, we thought we would, give that time and figure it out properly and make sure we get the funds allocated, but make sure that we can recognize the month in our own Burlington way.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Priest. And also just a quick follow-up to it, Nick just mentioned. There has been a lot of requests about flying the LGBTQ flag and whatnot, but there has to be a certain process in place so that we can protect the residents from, in other words, we have to have that policy in place. Nick has done a lot of work with this to protect us from having negative groups come before us and requesting the same. So by crossing our T's and dotting our I's, we want to make sure we do everything right so that we don't get into the situation where we say yes to one group and then some other group comes along and says, well, you said yes to them and we want to put this up, and it may not be, the most tasteful representation for our town. So we want to make sure we get all those things in place so that we don't end up like that. So that's why we're taking this, I don't want to say slowly, but we're taking this very strategic so that we don't have an issue when we do get to that point, which we will be getting to that point of having that community flagpole. Any other members of the board want to talk about this issue, this item? Seeing none. Anybody from the public want to chime in? We don't have a lot of time because we have town meeting at 7:30, but if anybody wants to make a brief statement, Kerry, I see you. Kerry, what do you have to add to this?
Hi, and forgive me because this is the first time I'm speaking at anything like this. I just showed up today in support of this. I work with my fiance, Leo. He and I created a Facebook group, which now is a part of the BEC in support of the LGBTQ community in the town. We appreciate your efforts. We are really grateful to have any show of support at this point, and we appreciate that you'll be following up and looking into the flag piece. So we just are here to show our support and appreciation. Also, I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but just want to put out there, we're also planning an event. We are submitting an application for a permit to use the town common to have a Pride event in June as well. So,
all right. Thank you, Kerry. And I can't believe after the last 14 months, you are not used to talking to computers and meetings, but
yes, but this town meeting stuff is pretty intimidating when you've never done it before.
Well, I didn't think with that bad.
I don't
think with that intimidating. Anybody else from the public want to chime in real quick? Sherry Markle.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I just quickly also wanted to mention I'm from the Burlington Equity Coalition, and I know there was someone that was here, recently that had talked to you guys as well. But basically, we're a growing coalition of multiple organizations in town that are, really working to support families, communities. There's several houses of worship that are part, and we've been collaborating with Carrie and Leo, and just want to also express our support for, the lights that you're talking about. Also, if we are able to do a Pride event, we're really thrilled, as part of the coalition to be able to support and make the town a really diverse and welcoming place for all of our citizens to take take part. And so we're just, really pleased at the opportunity, and thank you for the chance to make this something that's a reality. So we just wanted to.
Thank you, Sherry. I should, Mr. Morandi, I'll get to you. I just want to mention that if anybody's on the phone and they want to speak, all you have to do is hit *3, and that'll give us a raise your hand signal. Mr. Morandi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say to the people that are here and people that are listening to this, I had no comment earlier, and I'm still really don't have a comment. I just want you to know that I'm in support of this article. I think that it's a wonderful thing. Sitting back, being on this board, you hear all the stuff that goes on, what Nick has done, what Mr. Sagarino and Mr. Tiggis have done. We've heard it all. I just have no comment because I already know how I feel about this. So I didn't want you to think that any of us, well, I shouldn't say any of us, myself is against any type of flag or coloring this, the town common. I'm in favor of it all. It couldn't be a better way to do it. And Mr. Priest was right. Mr. Tiggis is right. Just want to make sure all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted before we go ahead and approve any type of flag so that we don't get ourselves in trouble. That was the biggest thing with me. Okay. So I just want to get that clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morandi. I think our support will be shown when we take a vote. But Mr. Runyon, go ahead.
Just let me take this opportunity. Just before the start of the meeting, we were talking amongst ourselves about the 4th of July. We are having an event. It's a rolling rally. Everything's going to be motorized. If your group would like to be part of the parade, we'd certainly be more than welcome to have you join us. So why don't you reach out to me if that's something you're interested in? We can work out some details.
Thank you, Michael. Mr. Hogan, anything, or you good?
Just to say that this legitimately is long overdue in coming. The ability to have these flags or lights or different things on the common. I know Mike and I talked when we had the Indian celebration of their anniversary, their 73rd anniversary on the common, and they had this beautiful flag, and we weren't able to put it up. And we hope this year in the fall, when their anniversary comes around again, that we'll have that flagpole for them also. So this is a no-brainer for me, supporting the community organizations. And like the chairman says, we have to be a little careful for those people who we don't want to be associated with. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan. Patricia, I see you supported as well. Anything else from the public before we take a vote to approve the lighting of the common for Pride Month?
If I could just join in that I'm really in support of the lighting of the common and the flag as well. So as Youth and Family Service Director, this is an important initiative, and I'm glad to see that the board is on board. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Okay, I'll be looking for a motion to approve lighting up the common for the Pride Month of June, Pride Month.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to make that motion. Do we have to get specific around the questions through to Paul around the specificity of the lighting itself? Like, do we have to specify that it's rainbow in nature, or can we just I know we specified green for mental health awareness. So I just want to make sure.
Mr. Sagarino?
Yeah, I spoke to Brendan about this and let him know that it may be forthcoming. And I think if you mention rainbow within your motion, that should be fine. Rainbow's a little bit different, as you know. I think we've only done one color so far, so we may have to figure out sort of how to blend that in amongst the different light posts. But we certainly be a fun thing to talk about tomorrow, I guess, sort of how we do that. So
awesome. All right. Well, then with that, I'll say that I'd like to make a motion that we approve the lighting of the common to be reflective of that of a rainbow nature from June 1st to June 30th of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Do I have
I'll
a second?
second that.
Mr. Morandi, second. Okay, we have to do a roll call vote. Vice Chairman Priest?
Aye.
Mr. Hogan?
Yes.
Runyon?
Yes.
Morandi?
Yes.
And the chair is yes, so it's 5-0-0. I think that gives you an indication of how we feel and support. So 5-0-0. Okay, next item, Sculpture Park, 120. Nick, is this yours as well?
This is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I know that at our last meeting, I had done a rough job of describing the situation, and just want to follow on this. And I see Mr. Sachs here as well, so he can add color. If you don't mind, John, I'll take the lead and just kind of driving this ship. So essentially, tonight we're looking for a vote of approval for the placement of a new sculpture that's being donated by Maureen Wall, and essentially it is another Dale Rogers. In your backup, you saw, and I displayed at our last meeting. The sculpture is called Lovebirds. It is a steel construction in the shape of a heart with two cardinals at the top. It'd be placed you can see in your back, it'd be placed in the back right corner, kind of off from where the cherries are now. The placard would be reflective of all the other placards that we have, and Maureen has asked that we include a in memorial little note on the placard as well. So it would just read, "In loving memory, just as the cardinal is beautiful and everlasting, so too is our love. In loving memory of our parents, Tom and Florence Murray, together for eternity in God's grace." Has a little QR code to learn more. It'll be a 6x9. And so I think just logistically, I believe the sculpture would be completed and available to us in September. John, correct me if I'm wrong. And so we just need to work with the DPW again, their schedule to have another circular cement platform board in preparation for it. And then we'd be off to the races. But I guess just as an aside, personally, I just want to note how excited I am that people in the area are so excited about this sculpture park that, you know, they're prepared to donate sculptures to it, you know, and give of themselves and their families to something that the town can cherish and have for you know, forever, essentially. But that's about it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Jonathan, did you have anything to add that Nick hasn't already mentioned?
No, just to say that the sculpture committee would obviously have to pass muster on any future donations to make sure that they fit within, you know, reasonable bounds for the town. And we think that Maureen Wall, may have started a trend where we may see more of these donations, which would grow the park without the town having to spend any money whatsoever. So we think it's great.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Almost like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
I should also mention, Mr. Chairman, that the Sculpture Park Committee obviously voted unanimously in favor of this, and that was why we did the discussion and then approval separately for ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Priest. Members of the board, anything to add to this one? Raise your hand. Mr. Hogan.
Yeah, it's on the same clock as the rest of the items, and the discussion will be had amongst all of the sculpted artwork at the same time, not a new clock.
Yeah, excellent question. So yes, so the clock that started when we first installed the park is running. This sculpture will just pick up on that clock. It's not a new clock. Now the one difference is that this is ours. Once it's accepted, it becomes, you know, part of you know, the town assets. Or actually, I should stand corrected, John. Well, this goes to the sculpture park, correct?
Well, what I explained to Maureen was that if it should come to pass that we have to move the sculpture park out of that area because of the, you know, needs of the historical commission, that her sculpture would be moved as well. I said, because it's a memorial to her parents, I wanted her to be aware that it might have to be picked up and moved, and she said that was fine.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Yes, Mr. Hogan, are you done?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Mr. Morandi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a great idea. I think Maureen did a wonderful job on this by donating this. Question I have is, if this was to keep going, where she started a trend, how do people go about getting a sculpture or donating a sculpture in the memory of somebody, or for whatever reason they have? How would they go about that?
Jonathan?
You know, that's a really good question, and we were thinking of when we're going to do some PR around Maureen's
sculpture being put up. And when we do that, I think that we're going to put a form on the page and say, if you're interested in donating the sculpture, please fill out this form. And maybe what we'll do is we'll talk to the Sculpture Association and see if they have people who are kind of, I don't know. It's a good question. The trickiest thing is if somebody brings something that is meaningful to them, but the town, we don't feel that it's appropriate. That's going to be the hard part. So, but I think we want to encourage it, but we have to put a process in place. And I think that Maureen is kind of, making us really stop and think about this process.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes, Joe.
So I totally agree with you. I think that it's such a small area. You might want to think about limiting it to how many sculptures can actually go into that area while you're doing that before we get, you want to be able to see one behind the other one. So just a thought of mine, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Randy. Mr. Runyon? Nothing? Okay. Jonathan, similar to like the community flagpole, you want to make sure that, everything's in place before you start accepting, because you may have that one comes in that says, I want mine up there too, and it may not be the, most desirable piece to have.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, being nothing that I can see, I'll take a motion to approve, accept, Mr. Sagarino, will you taking a motion to accept this item?
Yes, I would include a motion to accept the donation as well as part of your motion.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to accept the sculpture and the donation to the sculpture park, if we have one.
So moved.
All right.
Seconded.
Second, all right, moved by Nick, seconded by Joe. Roll call vote. Mr. Priest.
Aye.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Runyon.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
And the chairman's a yes. 5-0 to accept. Thank you, Jonathan. Nick, again, thank you. Warrant articles. Mr. Denizio, you handling this one?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have four warrant articles to vote today. The first one is from the OPEB Trust, and that is Article 5, which is $675,000 from free cash. And the genesis of this was to make up for the piece that we didn't put in this year during FY21 when we made the $2.1 million worth of reductions back in September. We held off or postponed a portion of our planned appropriation for that, and this is to catch up. So next year includes our FY22 budget as submitted and up for approval tonight, includes our getting back onto the funding for our operating budget, and then this would get us back for the piece we delayed last year.
Thank you, John. Mr. Sagarino, one vote for everything, or should we do them individually?
Whatever is your preference, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, I'll have Mr. Denizio explain each article, and then if anybody has a question on any of the four that he presents, just let me know and we'll discuss it. All right, Mr. Denizio, second one.
So the next three articles are to fund the compensation plans and the collective bargaining agreement with the fire department. So we were able to talk about it in executive session last week, and I know everybody on here watched my video. So I won't go into the full details of it, but it's $87,112 for the AMP for Article 19. It's $7,824 for the part-time plan in Article 20. And then Article 21 includes two different transfers from negotiated settlements, $177,600 from the current year FY21 negotiated settlement, which would pay for the retro for this year, and then from the FY22 negotiated settlement, $326,850, which would right-size the FY22 budget because when there's no contract when we submitted the budget, so those were off the FY20 base.
Thank you, Mr. Denizio. Mr. Runyon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could you take the fire budget separately? I have to abstain on that one. I guess, Paul brought to my attention, I was actually, a couple of months, there during the contract that you're gonna approve tonight.
Okay, we'll pull the fire out separately. Members of the board, anybody else, any other questions on the other other four, and then we'll just separate the fire out. I don't see any. Okay, then I'll be looking for a motion to accept the OPEB, A&P, and part-time contracts as presented.
So moved.
So moved by Bob, seconded by Mike. Mr. Priest.
Aye.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Morandi.
Yes.
Mr. Runyon.
Yes,
And the chair's a yes. 500 on OPEB, A&P, and part-time contracts. Looking for a motion on the fire as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. I vote that we support and approve the Burlington International Firefighters Association contract, which has the two parts that Mr. Denizio talked about, the $177,600 and then the $326,850 for a total of $504,450.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hogan. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Morandi. Okay, so Mr. Priest.
Aye.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Runyon.
abstain.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
And the chair's a yes. 401 on the fire warrant article. Okay, moving right along. Item 122 is minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes that we're approving. We can vote them as one unless anybody has any questions or additions, deletions, whatnot, whatever. If there's none, I'll take a motion to approve all 3 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve all 3.
Okay, Mr. Morandi, and then seconded by Mr. Runyon. Mr. Priest.
Abstain.
Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
Runyon.
Yes,
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
And chair's a yes. 401 on approval of the minutes of January 4th, January 25th, and March 5th. Subcommittees. Mr. Hogan.
Nothing.
Hey, Mr. Morandi.
Nothing.
Mr. Runyon.
no, sir.
And Mr. Priest.
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay, real quickly, I just have 2 items from the fire department. Open burning season for the Commonwealth of Mass ended May 1st. And also, Kidder is recalling their True Sense smoke and fire detectors. Let me just get the information here. And it is the True Sense smoke and combination smoke and carbon monoxide alarms for failure to alert consumers to fire. These alarms were sold, the alarms being recalled were sold from May 19th to September 20th. And the remedy is to replace them. And for more information, go to kidder.com. That's KIDDE.com and look up product safety notices. Mr. Sagarino, anything?
No, Mr. Chairman, at this point, I would just like to recognize that, thank all of the employees involved in putting together and committees involved in putting together the information for town meeting, especially the staff in my office. They do a ton of work, led by Betty, to sort of keep everything organized and put it in a fashion and get it out quickly to the town meeting members. And if you saw how much work goes into putting together this stuff, you'd be amazed. And again, I just wanted to thank the staff, department heads, John and Whitney, elected and appointed officials. There's a lot of hands in the pie, and it's quite a production. And tonight's the big night. So I just want to thank everybody for all their assistance with that.
Thank you, Mr. Sagarino, and Mr. Denizio also for your work as well. Anybody from the public on citizens' time on anything that we have not already discussed?
Yes, Jim, when you have a chance, this is Betty.
Yes, Betty.
I'm looking at our minutes, and if we did approve, there's actually two sets for March 5th. Could I please have a second motion for the water billing subcommittee meeting?
I'm a little confused on that item.
Okay, I'll go back, I'll go back over again. There's 2 minutes from March 5. One was for an alcohol subcommittee meeting, and there's a second set in there for a water billing subcommittee meeting. So we've done the alcohol one, and I just need a vote, please, for the water billing committee meeting.
Okay, from March 5th. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to approve the minutes from March 5th, the water billing subcommittee meeting.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Morandi,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hogan. Okay, roll call vote on this. Mr. Priest?
Abstain.
Hey, Mr. Morandi?
Yes.
Runyon?
Yes.
Hogan?
Yes.
Okay, the chair's a yes, so 4-0-1 on that particular one, Betty.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens time, nobody. Anybody raising their hand? Nick, do we have anybody call in on Facebook or Paul, any phone calls? No? Okay.
Nope, nothing on Facebook.
Okay, very good. And that being the case, we have town meeting. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Mr. Morandi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Priest. Roll call vote. Mr. Priest.
Aye.
Mr. Runyon.
Yes.
Hogan.
Yes.
Mr. Morandi.
Yes.
And the chair's a yes. 5-0 to adjourn.